Perfect dodges should reward more than a regular gun strike. Okay, this is interesting. Let's see what they're cooking. The perfect dodge mechanic should offer more than just triggering a regular gun strike, given how tight the timing is to pull off. Since launch, fencing weapons have been the go-to choice for many players, thanks to their ability to stagger enemies and open up gun strikes. Blocking has also seen improvements in recent updates, with boosts to damage output through base stat changes and adrenaline surge buffs. However, dodging has remained unchanged since launch. Okay. Before we go any further, this is an interesting idea, but like I think perfect dodging rewards us pretty well. I mean, getting a gun strike out of a perfect dodge is still pretty good. But yeah, okay, let's just see what they're cooking. In terms of timing, perfect dodging is comparable to blocking, which is why the two often work well together. For example, a typical 3-hit attack from a Tyranid warrior can stack 2 blocks and 1 dodge for a gun strike, enabling quicker kills. Huh, you know what? No, they have a good point. Sometimes I just block through that combo. I mean, they have a good point with how it lines up. Not too sure if perfect dodging needs any more rewards, though. I couldn't even imagine what other reward perfect dodging could get. Maybe an armor piece or something? And in case you didn't know, you can perfect dodge blue and unwarned attacks as well as red. Yes. But perfect dodging should see more use than just in combination with block weapons in a way to retaliate against red attacks. While parrying players can also use perfect dodging, the stagger and gunstrike effect of parrying is much more attractive than letting attacks continue. The stagger and gunstrike effects of parrying is much more attractive than letting attacks continue and only opening up a basic gunstrike, especially since parrying windows are more accessible than dodging. Wait, because if you parry a major and they stagger and you get a gun strike, that doesn't mean perfect dodging needs more. I feel like fencing should work that way. That's wild. In my opinion, there needs to be a stronger incentive for perfect dodges than just a regular gun strike. How could this be achieved? Well, that's where the real question is. As an assault main, my bias is towards dodge gun strikes, providing an additional 20% extra damage modifier. Dude, that's wild. So that when stacked with proven efficiency, we can return to the halcyon days of 50% gunstrike damage. For non-assault, it would provide a way to achieve faster kills through gunstrike damage. Look, the assault class already has a perfect dodge damage buff. it does. If you perfect dodge with the jetpack, I believe, you get a 20% damage buff across the board, something like that. And since it's a damage buff across the board, that does mean your melee attacks as well, which is pretty fun. I'm cautiously optimistic about this, but I don't think it's a priority. I think it's interesting. I just don't think it's a priority. I always believe that perfect dodges should restore 1 armor segment. Yeah, this is like the one that I would actually not mind, which would encourage players to learn the dodge windows to add to armor economy. So in all, what I suggest is the gunstrike modifier after a dodge gunstrike be increased by 20% and armor restored by 1 segment. If you agree with me, please consider showing your support to this idea on the official Saber ideas board. All right, yeah, I don't think we need a damage buff from a perfect dodge. Getting an armor back would be kind of interesting. I think that would be kind of interesting, but since they buffed blocking so much, I can't imagine how easy it would be to get your armor back with a blocking build when you are also perfect dodging. I feel like you would get a lot of armor back. With that said, this guy did say he's an assault main. So unfortunately, I understand why he's asking for buffs, because he's playing the assault class. But the assault class has received some interesting changes in the PTS, so it's not going to be all bad. I think the assault class is actually still going to get an overall buff in patch 7. But with that said, this is kind of an interesting idea. I feel like we get enough from perfect dodges. I mean, from perfect dodges, I'm just happy to get the gun strike and survive in, the attack. It would be kind of interesting against the Hive Tyrant or Terminus enemies if your perfect dodges got an armor back. That would actually be kind of useful. But for most of the game, it's not necessary. Something like that against Terminus definitely feels fine. But if I was to get armor back on every perfect dodge, that would definitely feel bit overpowered, I think. I wholeheartedly agree dodging is cool and necessary, but perfect dodging is not. One must parry or block, but you're right. There's no real incentive for mastering the perfect dodge window. Yes, there is! So you survive. That's all the incentive I need. Maybe getting a temporary movement speed. Ooh, I like that. And attack speed boost would make sense. Lore-wise, the start dates have superhuman reflexes, so getting that perfect dodge in a tight situation could highlight that aspect of allure. I guess. I like the movement speed boost from a perfect dodge. I really don't want to buff our damage just from a base mechanic like that. The parrying mechanic, you know, how it can debuff enemies. I feel like that's good where it's at. You know, it is a parry, you know. So I feel like a parrying does more to get your enemy off guard than a dodge would. Also, I'm a fairly good player, but holy crap, I tried Assault just to see what the fuss was about. I can't count how many BS ways I died that didn't normally happen. That class needs major buffs and tweaking, and dodging could be a way to do that. Mad respect to all the skilled Assaults I run into while playing with randoms. I mean, okay. Fair last note there. But yeah, perfect dodging to get a movement speed boost would be kind of cool, but overall, I don't think getting it in a you know, any sort of attack buffs wouldn't make any sense. The problem comes from the following advantages that parry has over dodge. Perfect parry has a huge window compared to perfect dodges. It is significantly easier to execute. Yes, very true. Perfect parry can animation cancel. You can activate it almost any time, including during attack. Dodge cannot. My favorite part about activating parries, have you ever been hit where you kind of get like stumbled onto the ground? It's not like a full stagger, but you like get hit and you like kind of do like a roll on the ground. I love how you can perfect parry out of that. like you are in mid roll and you can just like, you know, get up instantly and do a huge parry. It's kind of sick looking. Perfect parry can be spammed back to back consistently while not taking any damage. Okay, well that's not true. No. If you miss your perfect parry, if you miss a parry and then go for another parry immediately and there's nothing to, you know, parry, you will take chip damage because they will hit you in between the parries. But for the most part, he's right, because yeah, you parry something and then someone else attack you, you can parry that. Someone else attacks you, you can parry that. As long as you time your parries right, yeah, you can do back-to-back parrying. Dodge, for obvious reasons, does not have full iframes for the duration of the animation. It should. I feel like this is one buff that would be interesting, and I feel like, yes, the Assault class would benefit greatly from it, is if just, you know, dodge iframes were just a little bit longer. And yeah, the reason I think the Assault class would benefit from it is because of the dodge jetpack situation. You cannot perfect dodge minors normal attacks. Oh, yeah, you can't. No, that's a good point. Not only can you parry them, but you refund 1 armor from it, and this is the single most reliable way to maintain armor. Fencing makes this 10 times easier to execute. Dodge has the following advantages over parry. A good dodge will throw off enemy tracking and give you a moment of breathing room. Dodge can avoid unblockables. Some possible solutions: make the perfect dodge window wider, or make the parry window tighter. No! This is one of the biggest mistakes when it comes to parrying. When it comes to balancing. You have perfect dodges, and we're trying to think of a way to buff them. That's fine, but you can't compare them to something else and then immediately go, hey, you know what? If that thing was worse, then this thing would look better. I feel like that's like one of the biggest mistakes when it comes to balancing. Is taking something that's good and using that as a reason to, you know, using that as a reason. Well, no, you're taking something that's bad and then comparing it to something that's good and then using that as a reason to nerf the good thing. That's no. That's one of the worst mistakes. You have to be very accurate with nerfs. You have to only consider that weapon, because let's say we do that with the grenade launcher, right? The grenade launcher was obviously overpowered just on its own. You didn't need to compare it to anything. If you need to compare parries to perfect dodges I don't know, for whatever reason, suggest that the parry window be tighter, that's just wild. That's unnecessary. Imagine perfect dodging getting parrying nerfed. Oh my god, people would be freaking out. Allow dodge to animation cancel out of attacks like parry can. Yeah, I guess. Can you parry in the middle of the Assault's Thunderheimer run attack? I'm pretty sure you can. Honestly, yeah. Just make dodging more responsive. Increase the iframes and, yeah, allow it to animation cancel. Why not? I like that idea. I like that idea. I don't like the idea of nerfing the parry window. That's wild. But, yeah, sure. Why not? Have the, have the dodges, the perfect dodges have a bigger window, I guess. I mean, they are kind of rare. I feel like whenever I get a perfect dodge, it's very good. It's always good. But a lot of times when I'm getting gun strikes, I'm also getting armor back for non-lethal ones. It's interesting. It's interesting. Ultimately, I don't think it's a priority, but I think there's some good ideas here. And honestly, this does seem like a way we can find a way to buff Assault out of it. So it's at least worth the discussion. Let me know in the comments what you think about it.